Who created this powerful God who created the universe? Here is where religion and science do not want to dig further. No one wants to ask this question because more than who created the universe, the question who created God is more important. Philosophical answer to this would be, nobody created God. God just got self-created when the energy in abundance got super-integrated into an infinitesimal power called God. But this answer will be uncomfortable for all. Why? Because if God was self-created, he got created out of some energy forms. Who created that energy form? Hence, the question will keep getting a recurrence and result in a self-question. So even if God is almighty, there has to be someone mightier than God, right? When you go into deep scientific thought, you will find that the only universal law is the law of homeostasis, or equilibrium. This is a balance, a steady state. No one has to create this law. For anything to exist, that thing has to be in perfect balance with respect to anything that doesn't exist yet. A seed on a tabletop is in perfect equilibrium. Nothing is disturbing it, so nothing is created. What if you put it in the water? The water atoms and environmental energy now make changes in the seed and root start coming out. You and your partner are in perfect harmony, two individuals. But when you combine your energy, a family is created. When you combine your biological energy, a baby is created, and so on and so forth. Now let us go back quadrillion light years ago. Nothing exists. Nothing. It is a perfect void in perfect equilibrium. For us to be able to exist today, and for God to exist 14.3 billion years ago, something or someone had to disturb this perfect equilibrium. Let us call this time and state as the perfect void in a perfect equilibrium. Equilibrium in itself is not a steady phenomenon. It is a dynamic high-energy state. To retain anything, energy is needed. Just because nothing is happening to a seed sitting perfectly on a tabletop doesn't mean that no energy is needed for nothing to happen. The seed has to resist the force applied by the air. If you and your wife are living together and no baby is getting created, it simply means that you both have push energy strong enough to resist you from biologically exchanging your energy. Likewise, even a void has to have internal energy, which should try to keep this void forever. Energy doesn't get created. So where from void gets its internal energy? A void also has billions of independent particles living far enough for each other, maintaining this perfect void. We need not worry about the internal particles in the void because they do not exist in the scientific form. They exist to satisfy the law of homeostasis. If you could enter inside this great void with a microscope, you would see thousands of subatomic particles and subnuclear particles are moving around. This is a universe in itself. It just needs one random deviation, a minuscule, to break this equilibrium. This great void, which is, say, billions of universe in size, got one subatomic particle got displaced due to a purely random process. Now this will disturb another, which will disturb another. But when a lot of these particles are disturbed due to the first particle's small distortion, a lot of energy will be created. Many particles will try to freak out, others will come together to resist this. This chain reaction will create two groups within the void, one that tries to hold the void and one that tries to freak out of the void. This process would create unimaginable energy. If you could see inside this void at this moment, you would see two distinct groups. One is trying to go out, and the other is trying to keep them pulled. The one that wants to stay is matters, and the ones that want to leave are antimatter. Let us call this stage a perfect equilibrium between matters and antimatters. Just as the first subatomic particle had little diversion, so could there be some deviation in either of this group. That would have resulted in an explosion of unimaginable intensity which the scientists called a Big Bang. God is the homeostasis, the equilibrium, and the impurity is the creation. Once we accept that once upon a time there was nothing but a void, and that a void in itself is a state of equilibrium, it makes it easy to define God. God is the equilibrium because of the fact that equilibrium was the only thing that existed before anything. The minute random impurity in a state of equilibrium when creates a large enough chain reaction of impurity that becomes a state. When two opposite states go out of equilibrium, new smaller states are created. Many smaller states can combine, larger states can be disassociated, only to keep this equilibrium. They have to, right? Because equilibrium is God and God needs to exist. This impurity of randomness can be very well understood from genetic engineering. Parents can pass on only 99.99% of their genetic trait to the baby, making the baby at least a little different from the parent. The same way, a perfect equilibrium is a perfect equilibrium by 99.99%. It is now theoretically acceptable if we accept God is the perfect equilibrium and creation is the impurity in it. After the Big Bang, several subsystems were created. Somewhere in the remaining void, more tussle is going on. There more universes may get created in the future or may already exist. When so many systems get created, each system has to have its equilibrium for existence. These are local God to the system. Each system will affect other systems, even ever so mildly. Thus, every system in equilibrium also maintains a 99.99% equilibrium, what other systems in what appears to be in perfect equilibrium. Moon is in perfect equilibrium to Earth, but still, it goes away by some distance every year. In millions of years from now, the Earth will lose its the darling Moon. As cumulative equilibrium is the integrated energy in balance, and the finite energy unit known to humans is quantum energy, we can now comprehend God as integrated quantum energy in near-perfect homeostasis. But each system has a local God, a local equilibrium to maintain and manage that system. The local God creates rules such that the system is stable. Now, with this model, every philosophy and religious beliefs come to be in a perfect state. No one created God. God is the equilibrium which always existed. Friends, what do you think about this explanation? Tell us in the comment section and subscribe to our channel for more videos like these.